Tonight, more Iranian footballers seek refuge in Australia while one has a change of heart. Hello, I'm Pamela Medlen. This is ABC News. The curious case of Matt Canavan, the new National Party leader.
We need more Australian babies. We need more Australian humour, more Australian jokes. We need more Australian barbecues, sometimes often fuelled by fossil fuels.
WA motorists urged to shop around for cheaper fuel as farmers fear for crops. Commercial rat baits to be banned from supermarket shelves. And the Wildcats go down in a thriller against the Kings in Sydney in Game 1 of the NBL Finals Series. In a dramatic change of heart, one of the Iranian soccer players granted asylum has reversed her decision and now plans to return home. The extraordinary twist exposed the location of her 6 teammates who chose to stay in Australia, forcing the government to intervene. National Affairs correspondent Jane Norman begins our coverage.
Frantic and fearful, supporters stake out Sydney Airport.
Please help them. They're going to their death with their families.
Hoping to intercept the Iranian athletes in their final moments on Australian soil.
We came here since 3:30 today to actually save them.
They watched on as the team touched down, only to be bussed to the next terminal. Passengers with them on the plane aware of the drama.
The captain made a beautiful announcement and said how brave they were. The whole plane broke out in applause for them. So it was actually really moving.
Little did they know 2 more women had been granted refuge, joining the other 5 who'd already escaped. And an extraordinary effort was underway to help the rest.
There was no rushing. There was no pressure.
After clearing customs, each remaining player and most support staff were offered asylum, interviewed without minders and given the chance to call their families back in Iran. In the end, one woman wavered before getting on the plane, but no one took up the offer.
Australia's objective here was not to force people to make a particular decision. We're not that sort of nation.
Late today, another twist. Tony Burke telling Parliament one of the women granted asylum overnight reversed her decision today. She wasn't coerced, according to the minister, but she inadvertently gave up the location of the other 6 women when she contacted the Iranian embassy to collect her.
I immediately gave the instruction for people to be moved.
The 6 players now contemplating their new lives, Australia's football community standing by to help.
I think we're trying to do as much as we can, not as players, but as a country in general, to support them.
As the remaining members made their way home via Malaysia, a regime spokesperson accused Australia of holding their athletes hostage and tweeted to the others, "Don't worry, Iran awaits you with open arms." Their fate now in the hands of a brutal regime. Jane Norman, ABC News, Canberra.
The United States says it's intensifying its attacks on Iran as it faces further questions about how long the conflict will run. Israel's bombardment of Lebanon also shows no sign of easing, with hundreds of thousands of people forced from their homes. Middle East correspondent Matthew Doran reports from Haifa near the Israel-Lebanon border.
The Iranian city of Tabriz under attack. The US and Israel striking targets across the country. The window of this car west of Tehran shattered by the shockwaves of a blast. Look at all the smoke, this woman says on the other side of the capital. It's very close.
Today will be, yet again, our most intense day of strikes inside Iran. The most fighters, the most bombers, the most strikes.
Near the crucial Strait of Hormuz, the US says it's taken out more than a dozen Iranian mine-laying vessels. But there's been more mixed messaging from the Trump administration, with the Energy Secretary claiming on social media that the US Navy had escorted an oil tanker through the strait before deleting the post.
I can confirm that the U.S. Navy has not escorted a tanker or a vessel at this time, though, of course, that's an option the president has said he will absolutely utilize if and when necessary at the appropriate time.
In Lebanon, Israel has again targeted the capital, Beirut. Its strikes against the Iranian-backed Hezbollah now estimated to have displaced nearly 700,000 people.
I'm living outside my home, heartbroken and deeply distressed.
Across the border in northern Israel, the IDF's machinery is on display. Tanks and troops deployed to the area and moving beyond the border fence into already bombed-out Lebanese towns and villages. Even though this conflict with Hezbollah has been reignited amidst a broader regional conflict, there is a feeling that this front could rage on for much, much longer, even after Donald Trump calls time on his strikes on Iran.
He gets to control the throttle. He's the one deciding. He's the one elected on behalf of the American people.
No clarity yet on how long the president's mission will take. Matthew Doran, ABC News, Haifa.
Queensland Senator Matt Canavan has vowed to fight for improved living standards and local manufacturing in his first outing as the new Nationals leader. His elevation to the top job coming as the junior coalition partner tries to fend off a serious electoral threat from Pauline Hanson's One Nation party.
Kicking off game day with a goal. Matt Canavan getting his eye in early ahead of the main event, a party room meeting to vote for the new Nationals leader.
Main thing I thought this morning is as long as I score in the party room.
Hours later,
I would like to announce that Matt Canavan is the new leader of the Federal Nationals.
Excellent, thank you.
The Queensland Senator winning a snap vote triggered by David Littleproud's shock resignation yesterday.
I stood for this role because I think we are losing our country and we have to fight back for Australians.
Victorian MP Darren Chester becoming deputy leader.
The message I hear everywhere I go in regional Australia is that people have been left behind.
A backer of the coal industry, Matt Canavan drove the push for the Nationals to dump net zero, which was then followed by their coalition partner. Today, signalling his focus on local manufacturing and higher birth rates.
We need more Australian babies. We need more Australian humour, more Australian jokes. We need more Australian barbecues, sometimes often fuelled by fossil fuels.
While it's unconventional to elect a senator as leader, it's not unheard of. Matt Canavan sidestepped when asked if he'll make a tilt at the lower house anytime soon. But the outspoken Queenslander is widely viewed as someone who can take the fight up to One Nation leader Pauline Hanson, her resurgent party currently the Nationals' biggest threat.
I worry about where Pauline would take this country to an area of more division.
Pauline Hanson weighing in, saying Matt Canavan has joined the woke pile-on, choosing to attack One Nation instead of opening the door to working together. The upcoming Barra by-election set to be a key test for the Nationals' new-look leadership.
We won't just be taking it up to Labor. Watch out, One Nation.
Resetting ahead of an uphill battle. Romy Stevens, ABC News, Canberra.
WA farmers fear fuel restrictions could impact seeding and other production as prices continue to skyrocket amid the Middle East conflict. Motorists are also being urged to shop around for cheaper fuel, with Consumer Protection warning hoarding could have consequences.
Kojonup farmer Gordon Coleman is seeding in 2 weeks and growing concerned about access to fuel.
The possibility of not getting fuel is on a whole other level. That's disaster levels. If you don't get your canola on the ground by a certain date, you just don't plant it.
Facing restrictions after a call to his supplier.
We had a 2,000 litre limit per farmer from my supplier, which immediately we have something up our sleeve now to get started in seeding, but it immediately makes you feel like you should be locking in even the 2,000 litres because they can't even commit to giving us that fuel in 3 weeks' time.
WA farmers say panic buying in the city is impacting regional areas.
We're seeing price fluctuations in the city and it's even coming back to a reasonable price, but that's not being passed on the regions. The independent distributors are still paying full whack for their fuel and they're having to pass that on to the regional people who already use more fuel because they've got further to travel and more to do with it.
While Consumer Protection says hoarding fuel in Perth is unnecessary.
There's consequences for all of our actions, and so if we are hoarding fuel, it means someone else can't get it, and that might come back and bite us later on in the future.
But Mr Coleman argues farmers are not panic buying.
It's necessity. If you're not trying to get fuel right now when we're being told there isn't, you can't get the tractor in the paddock and start putting your crop in.
Drivers urged to shop around.
But where there is choice and you as the consumer vote with your feet, you are responsible for keeping that downward pressure on prices. You achieve that by where you spend your dollars.
While the state government won't rule out intervening with measures like price caps, motorists are encouraged to behave normally at the Bowser.
What we are really focused on is ensuring that we engage in monitoring the difference between wholesale and retail price. We encourage people to go to Fuel Watch, which has proven successful.
The state government is confident there are no issues with overall fuel supply and says discussions with key stakeholders will ensure informed decisions can be made. Maya Kordick, ABC News.
The WA government has held crisis talks with fuel companies and key consumer and industry stakeholders to help deal with skyrocketing fuel prices. State political reporter Courtney Withers joins us from North Perth. Can you tell us what came out of the meeting?
Pamela, stakeholders who emerged from this roundtable were in good spirits, many describing the talks as very positive, especially those representing regional groups. And they would have had reason to be quite pleased. WA Premier Roger Cook emerged afterwards and confirmed that regional concerns about fuel are very much front of mind for the government. He confirmed that 7 key points were agreed upon in this meeting to focus on. Some of those things include prioritising fertiliser and fuel through WA's ports, as well as making sure fuel is getting to WA's regions and is being restocked quickly. He also urged fuel retailers to urgently implement measures to stop stockpiling and kind of take this into their own hands. For example, stopping people and limiting them from filling up fuel on their trailers as well. He also defended and was questioned about price gouging with fuel in Perth, and gave the example that today there has been evidence that it is cheaper to get fuel in the regions than in Perth. That's despite over the last few days the government saying that there hasn't really been clear evidence that price gouging has occurred. But the Premier did indicate that at this stage market intervention isn't something that stakeholders nor the government are wanting or are looking at.
Look, I think it was unanimous in the room that we don't need price caps, but we do need calm, and that assuring people in relation to supply is the best way we can do that, and we're all committed to that task.
Pamela, an industry operational working group is also going to be formed to meet for the first time tomorrow, and they're going to meet 2 to 3 times a week to continue to assess the situation and suggest things that can be looked at by the government moving forward.
Courtney Withers, thanks for that update. Fire crews are battling an out-of-control blaze east of Perth, which has burnt through more than 60 hectares and destroyed multiple sheds. The blaze broke out in Bachina in the Shire of Mundaring this afternoon. There's a possible threat to lives and homes in Bachina. Great Eastern Highway between Carter Road and Daconing Road is closed, and it's not known what caused the blaze. A new state government program will target children as young as 5 to try to divert them away from crime. The On Track to Thrive initiative will bring together government departments with Aboriginal-led organisations in Armidale and Geraldton as part of a 2-year pilot. Police will refer children aged 5 to 9 to the program who could be at risk of progressing into the justice system. Up to 25 children a year and their families will then be supported to address problems in health, home life and education.
We're all going to be at the same table, and we're going to have our families at that table, and that's important for their voices to be heard.
If you intervene early, you can change a child's life, and that's what this program's all about. This is good for kids, it's good for families, and it's also good for having safe communities.
People who use over-the-counter rat baits to get rid of problem rodents could soon be looking for another solution. The federal regulator has announced it will be introducing restrictions on popular rodent poisons.
Within months, widely used mouse and rat poisons are expected to be taken off retail shelves. New regulations are being introduced restricting the sale of anticoagulant rodenticides to people qualified to use them.
The government will make a regulation that says these products can only be sold to people who are authorised by each state and territory. Those people then are the only people who will be able to use second-generation anticoagulants.
One of the main reasons for the change is to protect animals like these owls. Second-generation anticoagulants are lethal for animals that eat rodents killed by poisons.
So last night's announcement was fantastic. However, as happy as we are, the devil's going to be in the detail.
They would prefer to see a total ban on anticoagulant poisons.
So when something like an owl consumes those baited rats, they also eat that poison, and it has the same impact on those. So it stops that clotting factor. It's just lethal.
Farmers who need to control rodents are expected to be allowed to continue to use the poisons.
There's a large number of farmers who already have to be certified to be able to access restricted chemical products.
The new regulations will go to the Deputy Federal Minister for Agriculture for final approval. In the meantime, the regulator will work closely with state and territory authorities to decide how the new rules will be enforced. Madigan Landry, ABC News.
Time for a weather check. Tabarak, our Jrood, is here. Tabarak, you've been looking at some summer data.
That's right. I mean, as it's finally feeling more like autumn, the hot weather we enjoyed last season may feel like a bit of a distant memory now, but this summer was actually Perth's fourth warmest on record. And if we zoom out and take a look at the past 55 years of temperature records, we see summer warming is a trend. Our average daytime temperature has increased by almost 1.8 degrees and now sits at around 32.5 degrees. This summer also delivered wild weather across the spectrum. Communities across the country sweltered through numerous heat waves. WA faced tropical cyclones, Victoria battled intense bushfires, and Tasmania even saw a dusting of summer snow.
The federal government agency that runs NAPLAN has apologised to 1.4 million school students after a technical glitch saw a delay to the annual test shortly after it began. The system was back up and running inside 2 hours, but teachers say it caused unnecessary anxiety and have called for the exams to be scrapped.
Chaos at almost 10,000 schools Australia-wide.
Obviously something has gone very wrong there.
As the computerised system powering the annual assessment of literacy and numeracy for years 3, 5, 7 and 9 froze on the first day of testing.
I think definitely it can be stressful and it can get them to dislike it.
Year 3 students were the only group uninterrupted.
How did you find today's NAPLAN test?
Fun and excited.
What did you think?
Confusing.
They sent an email today and we were fine with it, like these things happen.
Yeah, it was all right, but I forgot to put in my prompt. So I'm stressed.
Testing resumed within 2 hours, but it's an embarrassing day for the agency that runs the test.
We completely understand that this has been a disruption in schools and apologise for that.
ACARA says it'll ensure there's no cheating or unfair advantages and will investigate the reasons for the failure.
We do have those measures in place to ensure that the students are not disadvantaged as a result of this technical issue.
NAPLAN remains controversial with many teachers who fiercely oppose their schools being ranked on the results. Their unions were quick to seize on today's blunder to argue the test should be scrapped.
Well, it turns education into a competition it was never designed to be.
Teachers are also concerned today's bungle added to student stress.
For kids who don't like routine change, these moments are really hard.
ACARA says NAPLAN is valuable and here to stay.
Parents really value the National Assessment Program.
A test where the examiners were found wanting. Connor Duffy, ABC News.
2 of the architects of the illegal robo-debt scheme have been found to have engaged in serious corrupt conduct but won't face criminal charges. The Anti-Corruption Commission has cleared 4 others, including former Prime Minister Scott Morrison.
Kath Madgwick sees reminders of her only son Jrood everywhere.
Someone that just walks like him or, you know, wears a hat like him, and all of a sudden my mind goes to him.
It's almost 7 years since she lost him. He was only 22.
Jrood came out to me and said that he owed Centrelink $2,000 and then he wouldn't be paid. And about 2.5 hours later, he took his own life.
Robo-debt was designed to claw back debts from welfare recipients. Concerns about its lawfulness were raised internally from as early as its inception in 2014. But the scheme rolled on until 2020, after the federal court ruled the calculation method unlawful.
It is necessary to listen to the question and just answer it without extra detail.
I'm available to the Commission. A Royal Commission exposed systemic failures and a cover-up, referring 6 people to the National Anti-Corruption Commission. It's found 2 engaged in serious corrupt conduct. Mark Withnell by intentionally misleading bureaucrats during preparation of a cabinet submission, and Serena Wilson by intentionally misleading the Ombudsman, which in 2017 found the scheme was compliant. The others were cleared, including the Social Services Minister who signed off on the scheme, Scott Morrison. He says the NAC rightly concluded that ministers must be able to rely on the accuracy of the advice provided by their departments. The two public servants who were found to have engaged in serious corrupt conduct won't be referred for criminal prosecution, as the Commissioner found there wasn't enough admissible evidence to do so.
It just feels like another kick in the guts for all of the robo-debt survivors.
Survivors demanding accountability for their suffering. Alexander Lewis, ABC News, Sydney.
And if you or someone you know needs help, contact Beyond Blue by phone or their website or Lifeline on 13 11 14. To finance now, here's Alan Kohler.
What's bumped markets and most economists off the interest rate fence was an interview with Reserve Bank Deputy Governor Andrew Hawser by veteran political journalist Michelle Grattan, which was published on the RBA website last night. The interview was lined up 3 weeks ago, but it turned out to be conveniently timed for the RBA because it was able to set markets straight. Here's a quote from it. It's important to take steps to bring inflation back to target from its too high level at the moment. People should be in no doubt about their commitment to do that. So overall, it was taken to be a sabre-rattling speech, and in the course of an hour or so, the market odds of a rate hike next Tuesday went from 30% to more than 60%. In the past 3 months, the futures market and economists have gone from expecting rate cuts this year to expecting 2 hikes at least. And the impact of the Hawser interview can be seen in the Aussie dollar, which was 70.6 US cents this time last night and is now 71.6, with 72 in its sights. So, stand by for mortgage repayments to go further in the direction of the cost of fuel. This graph is the national average petrol price, up 50% in less than a month. The oil price was 50% higher at one stage, but is now up 28%. So something like that should happen to petrol and diesel. If it doesn't, you might want to dust off your local member's email address. The share market closed high without a lot of conviction. Rare earths companies came into focus after Lynas announced a new offtake agreement with Japan, and the happiness rubbed off on others like Arafura. The US market slipped a bit while the Japanese and Korean markets had another strong gain. And finally, commodities were relatively peaceful, unlike the Middle East, with oil and precious metals down slightly and base metals and iron ore up. And that was finance.
To sport, the Perth Wildcats have gone down by the smallest of margins to the Sydney Kings, 105 to 104 in Game 1 of their NBL semi-final series in Sydney. Perth had a last-gasp chance for victory, but will need to win at home on Saturday to keep their season alive.
Coming off a 19-day break, the Sydney Kings were sluggish in the opening minutes, Perth making the most of its opportunities.
Who finds the bottom of the net.
There were reminders the Kings would punish any errors.
Perth and Sydney win possession. It's Malawatch to the rack.
But consistency from the arc kept Perth in front at the first change.
Back to back from Duke Jr.
Ben Henshaw was forced to the bench with an apparent foot injury early in the second. Kendrick Davis had the ball on a string as he confounded the Wildcats' defence, the Kings pulling out the tricks as they found their rhythm.
Jalen Galloway sits it up for Xavier Cooks.
As they hit the front before the main break.
Davis trying to put an exclamation mark on the end of the second quarter.
The game looked like it was getting away from Perth before a 13 points to 2 run saw them storm back into the contest.
JLA dunks 2 more and Perth go back in front.
But the Kings weren't going to go quietly. Kuat Noi producing an inspired possession, hitting 3 and blocking Henschel.
Oh, down the other end, Kuat Noi.
Perth kept digging in.
Dylan Windler drops 3.
But as the clock ticked down, Sydney lifted again. Kendrick Davis showing why he's one of the best in the league.
Kendrick Davis says, I'm not going to be beaten.
Perth had one final chance to snatch the win but couldn't hit the bucket and are now sweating on an apparent ankle injury to Dylan Windler as they prepare to host the Kings on Saturday to keep the series alive. Tom Wildey, ABC News.
A dominant performance from former Wildcat Bryce Cotton led the Adelaide 36ers to victory over the South East Melbourne Phoenix in Game 1 of their NBL playoff series in Adelaide. Six-time MVP Cotton scored 42 points with 5 assists and 6 three-pointers. Nathan Sobey kept the Phoenix in the game for much of the contest, scoring 23 points for the match. The 36ers held off the Phoenix to win 104-97. Game 2 is in Melbourne on Saturday. The union representing AFL players has confirmed the league's illicit drugs code is set for a major shake-up. The 3 strikes policy will be abandoned and stricter rules enforced, with the AFLW to be included for the first time.
A drug code that's never been enforced publicly. For more than 2 decades, AFL players who test positive to illicit drugs have faced a 3 strikes policy. But in that time, not one player has ever been struck out.
We'll move on from strikes.
Under the league's revised drug code, the 3 strikes policy will be removed. Urine testing will be phased out and hair testing will become a key feature. The code will include AFLW players for the first time.
The intent always has been to find a contemporary approach to the medical management of players using illicit drugs.
The Players' Union says it's still working with the AFL to iron out the final creases in the policy. But under hair testing, it will be tougher for players to avoid getting caught. And if they do, there'll be a more stringent medical program.
And then hold them accountable to that support so that if you are getting help, there's a responsibility that you take up that help.
It's great that we're having those discussions and those conversations around, is it working, is it not, if guys are slipping through the cracks.
So at the moment, I think there's some balls in the air. Once that happens, then we'll have a discussion about what that looks like.
But it's not the drugs code that's causing problems for Sam Mitchell. He's leapt to the defence of Dylan Moore and Connor McDonald after the pair spent a night in an Arizona jail in November for alleged trespassing while out drinking in the off-season.
I was very disappointed first hearing about it, but it was a few months ago now, and they have done every single thing that you would expect of them since then.
An unwelcome distraction 2 days out from round 1. Tom Maddox, ABC News, Melbourne.
Tabarak is back with us. It was another good day to get out in the garden, Tabarak.
I mean, it's shaping up to be a pretty good gardening week, Pamela. Probably would have also felt nice to be out in the crisp air this morning, like Ian here, who managed to capture the sun rising up. Would also love to see how you're spending those milder days, so please send your weather photos through. Now, along with a crisp morning, we had sunny skies and a nice breeze, so I really couldn't ask for a more autumn-like day. We reached a high of 26 degrees just before 4:30 this afternoon, after dropping to a cool 14 degrees overnight. We saw similar cool minimums across central and southern parts of the state, but only Wandering got down to a single digit of 9 degrees. Meanwhile, it was another scorcher across the Pilbara today. A few places there reached the highest max of 42 degrees, including Marble Bar, Karratha and Mardi. On the satellite, a thick band of cloud flows over southern parts of WA, where we also had some storms ticking away in the goldfields. Kalgoorlie Airport picked up around 27 millimetres to 9 a.m. Could also see some more storms there and more storm activity across the Kimberley district tomorrow as a trough is pushed up towards the region. It will extend down the Pilbara coast into the weekend. Meanwhile, down south, we can expect more cool, breezy days as a strong ridge of high pressure extends over the southern half, and that's going to keep things mostly settled there. Around the country tomorrow, sunny and 34 in Brisbane, also sunny in Canberra, cloud around for Sydney and Adelaide, while the remaining capitals can expect a shower or two. Back home, storms continue over the northeast, which could drop some heavy falls in the Kimberley, up to 45 millimetres possible in Kununurra and Argyle. Temperatures across the region are staying mild in the low to mid-30s, slightly warmer through the Pilbara with mostly sunny conditions there. It's also going to be sunny over the central west, with temperatures ranging from the high 20s to low 30s, while it will be a cloudy and cooler day through the goldfields. Possible shower and a top of 19 in Kalgoorlie and Norseman. Further south, a mild and partly cloudy day over in the southwest corner. We also have lingering showers along the south coastal district tomorrow, but only about a couple millimetres at most. A top of 23 in Denmark, 21 in Esperance. In Perth, we've got another picture-perfect autumn day ahead tomorrow with mostly sunny conditions, heading for a forecast top of 29 degrees from an overnight low of 13. On local waters, winds will be southeasterly, 15 to 20 knots, with seas up to 1.5 metres. The sun will rise at 13 past 6 and set at 12 minutes to 7. And then looking ahead, those warmer conditions are going to slowly creep up again, partly cloudy and 28 on Friday, back to 30 on Saturday, a warm 33 on Sunday, and then staying sunny and in the low 30s for much of next week, Pamela.
Thanks for that, Tabarak. That's ABC News for now. We'll be back with you tomorrow. You can catch the news anytime on ABC iView, but stay with us for 7:30.